There's some breaking news here. We have the latest on American Airlines. Jack Nicas is in Chicago. Jack, how are you this morning?
Morning, Mark.
The latest on, it's interesting, US Airways swooping in, getting some agreements with American Airline Unions. Is that what's going on here, Jack?
Yes, this is a major step in US Airways' quest to essentially force a merger with American Airlines. American Airlines' three largest unions this morning announced that they've agreed on terms with US Airways if the two airlines were to merge. It's something US Airways has been pitching to the unions for weeks now, but American Airlines is still very hesitant, and they're actually going on Monday to bankruptcy court to try to slash some American Airlines employees' jobs.
Go ahead, Jack.
So right now, what we look at with the deal is the unions are saying that if a merger were to happen with US Airways, they could actually save nearly half of the 13,000 jobs that American Airlines wants to cut. And US Airways is saying that they could create about $1.5 billion more in additional revenue through the merger. So it obviously is an attractive deal to the unions, and they are fully on board. Now, the US Airways would have to convince the rest of American Airlines creditors before a merger could happen, and they'd also have to go to American Airlines board of directors.
And that's the question I was going to ask you, Jack. Do you have any sense about how the creditors are leaning now that maybe that the unions are on board with a potential US Airways merger?
It's really tough to say at this point. They do have, the unions are a major part of this, but they still obviously have to convince several other members. It's essentially a 10-member creditors committee. One of the members, the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corp, put out a statement today that said they're committed to putting together and supporting a stronger airline that will preserve jobs. And if we're talking about preserving jobs, then it seems like the merger is the way to go. So obviously, there's an attractive proposition from US Airways. They're going to make their case to all the creditors, and we'll see how they sort of take that and whether or not they support it.
Now you can see this morning, Jack, US Airways stock is down about 2%, I think it was, before the show started. I guess my question for you is, US Airways obviously have been trying to force this merger. Does this sort of represent like a backdoor way for them to get at this merger? Because we know American Airlines management has said no.
Right, American Airlines management is not interested during the bankruptcy. They said they're all ears once they emerge as a standalone airline from bankruptcy court. But US Airways, we reported today in today's journal that they're actually having internal discussions about whether or not to try to take a backdoor route and go to the creditors committee independently, or whether or not to have a sort of full frontal merger proposition to the board of directors and AMR management as well. But it's unclear how they're going to proceed just yet. But this is a major step. At least they know they have the support of the employees, and it's very likely they're probably talking to advisors of other creditors as well.
A question about the strength of US Airways now too. Are they on pretty solid financial ground now, Jack, or are they really coming? Obviously, they're in a better position than AMR, but are they really in a good spot to be able to pull off this merger and do whatever consolidation they need to do and come out of it much stronger?
Well, US Airways is on solid financial footing. They can certainly survive, and they are turning small profits, but it's impossible. It seems impossible to a lot of the industry analysts that if US Airways was to sort of survive as a standalone airline and not complete this merger, which a lot see as the last big merger in the airline industry. We've seen Delta, Northwest, and United and Continental. US Airways is really going to struggle to keep up with a giant United, a giant Delta, and American emerging from bankruptcy, a standalone airline would also be quite strong. But for American and US Airways to compete with United and Delta, many industry analysts say they need to merge here.